One of the things you do as a server is try to marry what people are looking for and what we offer. If we were to break down what we offer in broad category, we would say we've got white wine, rosé, red wine, sparkling wine, and we've got non-alcoholic beverages and beer. So I will talk about kind of each of those sections. For glass wine, we offer a 6 ounce and a 9 ounce pour, and we can also sell the glass wine by the bottle. With the exception of the sparkling wine, which we offer only one 5 ounce portion or by the bottle. For glass wine, we generally will carry a rosé, a Sauvignon Blanc, a Chardonnay, and then several different Italian varietals or, offerings. So in this case, on this particular list, we have a Soave Classico. Soave is a blend of grapes, Pinot Bianco, which is also Italian, and then Pinot Grigio. Same with the reds. We try to offer a distribution that accounts for taste and price point. So we want to give people the option of having something a little nicer or maybe not as nice and spending a little less. And then we want to make sure that the taste profile fits the customer base. So we will have like a heavier cab in the winter, and we'll also have definitely some Italian varietals that are both fruit forward and a little earthier. We'll also probably have a fruity Pinot Noir, something that's lighter. Same like in this case with the Côte du Rhône, those offer a lighter version. So we want to have weight and acidity and tannin and price point kind of covered in the by the glass offerings. We offer sparkling and rosé all year round, and we want to again cover price point. We want people to have the opportunity to get something that's a little bit fancier. In this particular list, we have a 2007 vintage champagne, and we also have a New Mexican Brut Rosé that's only $30. We'll usually have a couple of rosés as well. In half bottles, we provide the half bottle section for people who want to have, well, let me just say, as an addendum to the by the glass options. So the great thing about the half bottle list is that people can order your table of two, party of 2 or 3. You can have a couple of totally different wines that are packaged up and meet different parts of your meal. So you could start with a champagne, which you could also get by the glass, but you could get this fancy, in this case, Billecart Simone Brut Rosé. Then you could follow it with maybe a glass of Italian white for your second course, and then finish up with, maybe the Valpolicella Ripasso with your entree, with your duck, let's say. But the combo of the by the glass and the half bottles give this diner, the smaller group diner, a lot of options. You can also sell it to an individual who's at a table and doesn't want what everybody else is having, but it just adds a depth of variety that is really helpful. So these half bottles, they change. They'll, depending on what's available. But again, we try to have a good distribution. In this particular list example, we've got a champagne. We have 2 whites, one Italian, kind of little older world Italian with some acidity, and then a California Chardonnay that has, some glycerin quality and depth of, fruitier, kind of fruit forward characteristic. And then similarly with the reds, we've got a lighter Pinot Noir, we've got a Syrah, and then we have an Italian option. In the white section, we try to have some domestic wines, some California New World varietals. They could be any New World varietals that are a little on the fruitier side, or fruity and low acidity. And we also offer some Italian options. And in the Italian options, we try to we get a little bit adventuresome for people who want to try something that's kind of interesting. In this particular example, the white wine list will increase during the warm time of year when people buy more whites, and then shrinks up a little bit in the winter. So this is a particularly short white wine list, but I think the distribution of flavors offers a lot of variety for the various customers who might come in. In red white Italian, we cover Piedmont, Tuscany, and then really areas beyond Piedmont and Tuscany. So usually we have some wines from the Veneto, and then we'll have some southern Italian varietals or something from Sicily or maybe Sardinia, just depending on what's available, what is a particularly good value. Sometimes we'll come across wines that are especially good values and fit the buckets we're looking for, but they might be a little bit specific, and you'll get specific information about those. But in Piedmont, the things you need to know and study are the basic grapes of Piedmont, and some Piedmontese regions. So Dolcetto, Barbera from either Asti or Alba, and Nebbiolo, those are the main grapes of Piedmont. And Nebbiolo can be made in the areas of Barbaresco or Barolo or Gattinara, and then outside of those are DOCG regions, which you should look up, DOCG and DOC. Those are towns that are designated as areas that are particularly great for that grape. Outside of those regions, the wine is referred to by the grape. In this case, we have 2 Nebbiolos from the Langhe region, and those we think of as like baby Barolos or Barbarescos, and so they come with a lower price tag. They're not as fancy as something that comes from the Barbaresco region, which is particularly optimized for that style, a sort of a softer style of the Nebbiolo expression, or the Barolo region, which is optimized for a kind of a more masculine expression of the Nebbiolo grape. But they're still often ageable and well-made, and always of particularly good value. In Tuscany, the main grape is Sangiovese. Sangiovese shows up again in several towns with slightly different expressions. We'll carry Sangiovese outside of those towns, in which case it is just referred to as Sangiovese by the grape. But we'll also carry in Sangiovese from Chianti, and then Chianti, within Chianti is a smaller region called Chianti Classico, which is a more prized region of Chianti. We'll carry it from Montepulciano, in which case it's Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and then from Brunello, which has Sangiovese Grosso. From each of those regions, sometimes we'll have a Rosso di that region. So there's a Rosso di Montalcino, which would be, again, like back to baby Brunello, or baby whatever. It's a kind of slightly declassified version of the Brunello, not slightly, but doesn't fit the Brunello prescription. We might sell a Rosso di Montalcino, which will be a really nice, usually they're very good values. Same with Rosso di Montepulciano. Those are Sangiovese expressions that don't fit the Vino Nobile prescription. And then outside of those regions, we usually have some wines from the Veneto, and then we also will carry usually a Super Tuscan, which is an area from back to Tuscany, an area that is particularly optimized for growing a Cab, Merlot, the Bordeaux varietals. It's a kind of a former swampy region on the coast, south west of Tuscany. We also have the section Beyond Italy, and in Beyond Italy we're covering lots of parts of the world, and we're trying to hit a variety of, again, price point and flavor profile. So we start, these wines are organized from lightest to heaviest. So the Pinot Noir is the first wine listed. The last wine is the Cabernet Sauvignon. So when you think about talking to customers and talking about weight of wine, that can help be your guide. But these are generally fruit-forward wines with, medium acidity, and generally not super tannic. Cab is obviously a tannic grape, but it's not as tannic as, let's say, Nebbiolo, for example. At least Cab grown in California isn't as tannic as Cab grown, as Nebbiolo grown in Italy. And Nebbiolo only grows in Italy. So in this case, in this particular menu example, we have 4 Pinot Noir, mostly because people like Pinot Noir. They like a lighter wine. It's usually a better sale in the spring, summer, than the winter. But so maybe that list grows in the spring, summer versus the winter. But we'll try to hit a number of different taste profiles. So in this particular example, we have a Pinot Noir from the Willamette, which is one of the better Pinot Noir growing regions of the U.S. or the world, really. We have a Pinot Noir from Oregon, just broadly, from grapes from all over Oregon, in the Sean Minor. We also have a Napa Pinot Noir, which is not a typical growing region, but in the case of like Robert Sinski, he's a good producer. This happened to be a particularly nice Pinot Noir. And then we also have this Pinot Noir from Patagonia, which is kind of an adventure. And that's usually when we take a wine, and this is just generally true for the list, if you have a Patagonian Pinot Noir, so it's not a big name, it's not going to sell itself, this is a wine that you would sell. This is a hand sell, because people aren't going to go, they're not going to come in asking for Pinot Noir from Patagonia. But that wine's only $39. So if someone wants a really nice Pinot Noir and they don't want to spend a ton of money, that's a really good option. We have in this wine list version, this Old Vine Carignan from Nyers. I included the word old vine because it helps sell the wine, but old vines tend to have more balanced, softer, better integrated fruit. So they're generally pretty sophisticated with lots of layers of flavor. And again, this wine's only $41. So it's an opportunity for a customer to have a really nice wine that's not super expensive, but has a lot of sophistication. This Priorat from Garnacha, it's Spanish wine, and we generally don't carry Spanish wine, but in this particular case, this was a really nice wine, and again, we can carry it for only $46. But it's something that, it's the, what's that? Garnacha is, I can't remember what it is in English, sorry. I don't know why it's fallen out of my head, but it's a Rhone varietal, so it's a kind of a little bit lighter, and but it's got that Spanish terroir in it, which is generally has an earthier element. So it's a very nicely layered wine. We have 2 Merlots on the list in this version, and one's more expensive. So it's a big name, Duckhorn, at $84. For that customer who comes in and knows what they want, they have a set of wines that they like, these certain popular wines, versus the Provenance, which is probably not as sophisticated, from Napa. And it's a 2014, so it's got a little bit of age on it now in 2019. So it will have softened a little bit. It's probably drinking really well. And that, again, that Provenance is only $39. The Petit Verdot from Mendoza, which we named Argentina, that's another example of a wine that kind of fits a taste niche rather than a regional prescription. So it's a little bit of an unusual varietal. It's more of a this wine is more of a hand sell. But generally, any of these wines, like the Patagonian Pinot Noir, or the Old Vine Carignan, or the Garnacha from Spain, the Petit Verdot also falls into the category, especially as a 2013, as usually a good varietal. So, I mean, a good option, a good value is what I wanted to say. So in this, if you were learning about this wine, you might look up Petit Verdot and look up Petit Verdot from Argentina, and then you knew a little bit about those general characteristics, and then just assume that for $56, it's a pretty good wine for somebody who wants something a little bit bigger. And then the cabs, like the Joseph Phelps is a name, Frog's Leap is a name, Trefethen also a name. We carry, in this case, those 3 Napa cabs might be a little too much. We probably need a little more variety in there, but the Canvasback from Washington has is a great cab growing region, so that's why that wine's there, and again, that's only $50. So that's the summary of the wines. The other sections at the bottom, we have beer, non-alcoholic, and hot. The beer section, we carry an Italian beer. It's actually the Peroni's our highest seller. We wanted a local, kind of less expensive beer, so we added the Lone Star. Then we have 2 fresh, I call them fresh, but they're locally made beers. They're not pasteurized like the Lone Star is, or I think the Peroni's pasteurized too. So they're really alive and alive. I'll just leave it at that. One's from Austin, one's from Garland, and one's from Houston. So we'll usually have a few local beers. For non-alcoholic, again, we're trying to, with this section will grow, but it's trying to satisfy the person who doesn't want to doesn't drink alcohol. So we've got a water, if someone wants really fresh water, I mean, not fresh water, but water, still water, which are both bottled. The iced tea, which we make here, obviously. The Pellegrino sodas, which are our substitute for, I mean, the sodas are our substitute for carrying big commercial sodas. So we don't carry the big commercial sodas. We just have these options. Not a lot of caffeine in those. And then for hot, we use Texas Coffee Traders. They're a local roaster. They're very careful about the regions that they buy coffee beans from. And these are our options, you know, for something coming out of the espresso machine. We carry Mighty Leaf teas because they're especially good tea, and we only have 4 options in that. So that's the wine list.